welcome everyone to our March 4th City Council meeting. It's good to see all of you here. We'll start our meeting as we always do with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'll please stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. And Rory, will you call the roll to see who is here?
Yes, Councilmember Glover.
Here.
Billings. Just sit here. Here. Sorry. Mikuláš. Here. Brown.
Here.
And Robinson. Here.
Okay, that is all of us. Before we get to our proclamation, some of you know what's to happen next, some of you don't, so we love a surprise. One of us up here has already celebrated a birthday, a significant one, and if you want to know the number, you can ask him. But if you'll indulge me just for a second, I have a surprise.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Brian. Happy birthday to you. Gordon, he is 40.
We just said if anyone wanted to know the number to ask him prior.
Yeah, mother-in-law.
If someone calls it out, then that's the number.
Thank you.
Brian, please get a picture with. This is Brian's family, by the way. For those
My wife
who
and
are wondering.
kids, mother, well, Susanna, she raises my kids. Mother, father, mother-in-law, father. And he was on the city council for a while.
For 8 years. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I did not quit. Confirm this. He goes for a while.
We want to get a picture of you guys.
Where do you want me to stand?
Okay. Move over just a little. Yeah,
okay,
just
Brad.
scoot in just a little bit.
Let's do a like
It
fan.
was really. It was pink, Dad. Pink. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you.
There's still cake, yes, please.
There is cake in there if you guys want to show real fast. Can I show real fast?
Yes.
You guys want cake?
Hi, good to see you. That's why it's
There's also cake.
I don't know if
He's in trouble now. Unindoors.
The bad thing is, next meeting, my birthday will have taken place, so I anticipate there being some revenge from Councilmember Brown to be had, so we'll see what that's like. Interesting thing is, there are 6 elected officials in Midvale City, and 3 of us celebrate birthdays within the Pisces zodiac sign. So you have 3 out of 6 Pisces up here. For what that's worth, I don't know, but
That's why Midvale's so great.
it seems mathematically impossible, but yet it is. So we do have a proclamation as well. I would maybe like to wait for Councilmember Brown to come back, but here he comes.
Don't hurt yourself.
Yeah, that's fair.
Brian, one of the purposes was to see if we could get you to cry. And
I got really close.
there might have been some side bets up here, but
I got really, really close, but my anger overrode that.
okay, so we do have a proclamation. As many of you know, March is Women's History Month, and as I was thinking about this proclamation, it was very important to recognize that we have 3 women on the Midvale City Council who have made history of their own this year. So this is a little extra special Women's History Month. And to read the proclamation, we're going to break it up and have our 3 women council members tackle this.
Whereas women of all races, classes, and ethnic backgrounds have made significant contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in both recorded and unrecorded ways. Whereas women have played a critical economic, cultural, and social role, constituting a significant portion of the labor force both inside and outside the home.
Whereas women have historically provided the majority of volunteer labor and were key in establishing early charitable, philanthropic and cultural institutions. Whereas women have led major progressive social change movements and have courageously served our country in the military.
Whereas women have advanced rights such as suffrage and equal opportunity and have contributed to the abolitionist, emancipation, labor, and civil rights movements, fostering a more just society. Whereas women of Midvale City continue to drive our community forward, leading in government, business, education, healthcare, and more, while strengthening our city through civic engagement and volunteerism. Whereas in recognition of these invaluable contributions, the role of women should continue to be celebrated in literature, education, and the study of history.
Now, therefore, let it be resolved that Mayor Dustin Gettle and the City Council of Midvale City do hereby proclaim March 2025 as Women's History Month in Midvale City, encouraging all residents to recognize and celebrate the invaluable contributions of women to our community and beyond. Adopted this 4th day of March 2025, and that is signed by all 5 council members and the mayor. So, thank you. All right, moving on to public comments. Any person wishing to comment on any item not otherwise scheduled for a public hearing on the agenda may address the City Council at this point by stepping to the microphone and giving their name for the record.
My name is Edward Kimball. I'm a longtime resident and homeowner of Essex Court condominiums. My purpose for addressing the City Council tonight is to once again express Essex Court Homeowners Association objection to the rezoning of the property located at 7001 South 9th East in order to build a 7-story, 195-unit apartment building. After reviewing the minutes from the January 21st, 2025 workshop, we learned the property owner had presented a modified building plan and would like to enter into a development agreement with the City Council. After reviewing the packet of this project, Essex Court came to the conclusion that the new modified apartment building has a basic footprint of the apartment building that was presented last year on May 7th, 2024 to the City Council, and which the City Council voted not to reprove the requested zoning change to allow the construction of this building. Last week, Tuesday, February 26th, Essex Court mailed each of you a letter expressing our concerns about this proposed project. I'm here to ask you tonight to carefully review our comments and objections before you enter into any type of development agreement regarding this project. We also believe that all the strong objections we raised last year are still very valid and applicable to this project. At the present time, 75% of our homeowners and residents in Essex Court have signed a petition opposing this project. We also have concurrence from David McBride, the owner of Sovereign Financial, and Kathy Truffle at Fair Meadows. I thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Edward. Is there anyone else who is not employed by Midvale City in the audience who might want to give comment?
I'm not.
I was like, wait a minute. Seeing none, we'll move forward to council reports, and starting us off, as always, is Councilmember Bonnie Billings.
I don't have any updates today.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Paul Glover.
Nothing this evening.
Okay. Councilmember Heidi Robinson.
I have nothing this evening.
Okay, wow, we are getting through this. Here we go, let's see. Councilmember Brian Brown.
Well, I never refuse a moment. I'd like to say thanks to the mayor. That was really sweet. That was really, I was not expecting that. I don't really like things shined on me, and I don't like being surprised. So those are two things I normally really don't like, but that was really special. And I usually use this moment, and I should,
to sort of pass along what I hear from citizens and things that need to be changed. But I do think sometimes I forget to tell the staff how appreciative I am when I come. I feel like they take it seriously when I say, hey, these are issues, and we can't always solve them or do them as quickly maybe as people want. But I just get so much follow-up lately. I feel like from everyone from Matt to Nate to Garrett that I think we're well run. I just appreciate it. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember. And Councilmember Denise Mikalash.
Just a few things. Thank you, Mayor. We did take a walk down Main Street and we checked out the Pearl on Main's new signage, which was amazing. And excited to hear all the events that they're bringing in there and the activity. So very impressed by that. Also, the last planning commission I was able to attend in person. And I was also impressed by that group's dedication to want to continue their learning and education and be able to connect with other cities to figure out how they can best support us as a planning committee. So just wanted to tell them thank you for that.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. And for the mayor's report, I will be brief today. Sometimes people ask, what's it like being mayor? And today was an interesting day. I started off, when I got to my office, there were a bunch of baseball cards on my desk. And I'm like, what the heck? How did this happen? And as I'm looking through them, they're all New York Giants cards. So someone from the community read in the Journal that I like the New York Giants and brought in so many cards. There's probably 200 of them. I'm like, well, that's interesting. So go from that to senior staff meeting to a couple of other external meetings. And then I ended my day today by playing dodgeball at the Boys and Girls Club. So you never know what each day is going to bring, and it's always exciting. And it's great working with the city staff and working with my fellow council members up here. So I appreciate all that everyone in this room does, and you too, Edward. So thank you. Other than that, we'll talk about UPD here in a minute. I'll have some things to add, but we'll move on to the city manager report and city manager Matt Dahl.
Thank you. I do have a few things this evening. The first one is I was just following up with a couple of the directors on a couple items an item that I wanted to discuss during the city manager's report. I was talking during your kind words, Councilman Brown. I appreciate those. Sorry, I was having that side conversation while you were saying such nice things. The next is Edward. Adam Olson, our community development director, I asked him when you step out that he would follow you just to tell you a couple things about where this process is so that you understand how that process is working. So I'll make sure you guys connect. The other thing is that the next thing I want to talk about is at the last council meeting, it was requested that we make sure that everyone is aware that if they have damaged garbage cans, that they can contact ACE to get those replaced. Information about that has gone out in the most recent utility billing and to help remind people. But also, if you go onto our website under the trash and recycling page, it'll have information on what to do if you have a lost or damaged can. And then just for those who are listening, and if they fit into that category, you would call ACE Recycling and Disposal at 801-363-9995 if you have a damaged trash can, but you can also find that information on our website.
And Matt, that's for both waste and recycling can?
It is.
But not glass if you do the
That's
extra?
right.
Okay, sorry, just wanted to clarify for the...
Thank you. So there's that. The next thing is, Councilmember Brown, you had asked at the last meeting that we would give a report in the future regarding where the number and instances of which people have utilized our permitting to serve alcohol in public spaces. Subsequent to the ordinance being approved, we had mentioned last time that there were two occurrences of that. Turns out that since that was approved, there's only been one event, which was our event, the Mural Festival, and there were no incidents associated with that.
I thought it was the tattoo. Didn't we do it for the tattoo as well?
The tattoos, that was on private property.
Oh, okay. All right.
Not on ours, or on public property. So that's, yeah, the difference there.
Okay.
The other thing is that there was, and anyways, yeah, and the police reported that there were no incidents associated with that.
Great.
So our plan is from now on is that we will do, as you requested, an annual report at the beginning of each year that just is going to indicate how many of those permits were utilized and if there were any instances going forward.
And I think that shouldn't be burdensome, right? And if we find out there's one or two and there's no instances after 5 or 6 years, I mean, we can revisit it. But I just think there was just a lot of angst, and I wasn't necessarily worried that it would be any different, but I think to show the citizens that, we understood, but, we're listening.
Matt, we did mention in senior staff this morning that obviously if there's an incident, we're not going to wait until
Right.
the end of the calendar year. We'll report on that if, and hopefully it never happens, but if something were to happen, we'd let you know immediately.
And the odds of it being related don't necessarily mean, like, there could be an incident that happens at one of those events unrelated to the liquor thing as well, and,
It'll be good to communicate on that so it's clear, especially if it happens at the event but is unrelated to
yeah, we should message that as well. So people aren't like, oh, of course, and it's like, actually, this was, someone had a heart attack or something, right? And,
Yeah. Will do.
thanks.
And then the last item that I wanted to cover this evening is that, as you'll recall, as part of the mitigation funding that we receive for being a shelter hosting community, there was a portion of the funding that was set aside, that you set aside for grant money for businesses near the shelter to help them address security issues and to repair potential damage that was made by transients in that area. At this point, we have issued 3 grants, 2 at $19,000, 1 at $20,000, which is the cap, 2 at $19,000, yeah, 1 at $20,000. Those were for McDonald's, Action Furniture, and Jacket, which is located right next to the homeless shelter. And again, those are for security issues, repairing some damage that had been done, and things like that. I think people are really happy with that program. In addition to that, we have 4 more applications that are somewhere in the process. And so we do believe that we are likely to fully subscribe the $200,000 that were allocated for this grant program. Any questions on any of those things? One last thing I just wanted to mention is that our Laura Magnus is going to be out of the office for most of the month of March. Everything's cool, but if there are any issues that come up that you think she would normally deal with, Rory will be helping on getting the information posted, but you should definitely communicate that to me, and we'll get that taken care of if anything like that crops up. She has prepared information that will go out around events that will be happening this month, as well as some regular content that will be going out during the same period of time. It's not normal for us to have all of that stuff sort of pre-planned to go out, and so definitely if you notice something that is awry with any of that, let us know, and we can get that fixed since we're in sort of this different time. And I'm very appreciative of Rory taking on another task during this period of time, so appreciate that. Now, that is my last item. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Matt. And knowing the type of person she is, she's probably watching or will watch this meeting at some point. So, Laura, we're thinking about you and look forward to seeing you when you get back. Moving on, we do have a public hearing. However, as we experienced last week, we cannot move forward with that since it was noticed for 7 p.m. So if the council is amenable to it, we could skip ahead to the consent agenda if there is a motion to proceed to that item.
Motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to proceed and to approve the consent agenda. Rory, will you call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Glover.
Aye.
Robinson. Aye. Brown.
Yes.
Mikuláš.
Yes.
And Billings.
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. We will then keep moving down the list here and come back to the public hearing at 7 PM. We have one action item on the agenda tonight. Consider resolution number 2025-R10, authorizing the mayor to sign a solid waste service agreement with Ace Disposal. Glenn Kennedy, I recommend that we change the solid waste into like household waste or something. It sounds a little bit better to me, but proceed.
Residential waste?
I like it.
Okay. So we're here to talk about residential waste.
Thank you.
As you recall, we discussed this last meeting. This is up for action this evening. Quick overview, the city's contract for residential waste handling will expire June 30th. To get ahead of things, we released an RFP in November. RFP closed in December, and an evaluation committee consisting of Public Works Director, Deputy Director, and the City Treasurer individually rated the proposals. Pricing and the scores of the proposals were revealed to the committee by the city's procurement contract analyst, and ACE was determined to be the best option. The term of the agreement is for 5 years with 2 options to extend for 3 years each. You can see the top portion of the slide is what they were weighted on, and then the weighted points. And then down below, you can see that ACE scored quite a bit higher than Waste and Republic. And Republic, again, was, their bid was incomplete.
Glenn, I have one quick question. I meant to ask this the last time. So the weighted points add up to 100, and then the points awarded add up to 5.
And I'm grabbing that from a spreadsheet from our contract analysis. She actually weighted the points. Those were what the evaluators could assign, and then she did the formula to weight them. But there was a total of 600 points possible after they were weighted. So ACE scored 532, Waste Management 443 out of 600. This is the cost breakdown. The top is before recycling is considered. Quite a bit of gap between Waste Management and ACE, but when you figure in recycling, it brings the gap down to about $20,000. But the recycling program and the services offered is a better option for the city to go with ACE. So that's one of the reasons the committee chose ACE, was the recycling plan. So again, staff is recommending ACE. They addressed all the city requirements pertaining to reporting, customer services, services offered, and routing information. Every requirement within the RFP they touched on. Their recycling proposal and cost was also the best, and they were the only entity not requesting any changes to the agreement, adding extra burden to legal. And legal did put together the RFP and the agreement, so they're comfortable with that. So with that, are there any questions or discussion?
Any questions for Glenn?
If not, there is a motion.
Okay. Thank you, Glenn. This is that type of thing that, we see this in council meetings, but the behind the scenes of this, that Glenn has spent a tremendous amount of time getting this contract and legal as well. So a lot of stuff happens behind the scenes, and we get to see the finished product, which sometimes is just a motion for us to do. But thank you, Glenn, to your team for that, and legal as well. There is a motion for the council to consider.
Mayor, I move that we adopt Resolution 2025-R10, authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement, ACE Disposal for Solid Waste Services.
Second.
I think we can do without the with and understand. We have a motion and a second. Rory, will you call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Robinson.
Aye.
Brown.
Yes.
Mikuláš.
Yes.
Billings.
Yes.
And Glover.
Aye.
So sorry.
Okay, that passes unanimously, and we look forward to working with ACE for another, how long is this contract for? 5 years. 5 years, okay, sounds good.
Options of extensions.
Okay. All right, it is not 7 o'clock yet, so we will proceed to our discussion item. And we have one discussion item tonight, discuss Unified Police Department fiscal year 2026 budget process. And for that discussion, City Manager Matt Dahl.
Thank you. Over the course of time that we have been members of UPD, there's been quite a bit of variability in how the budget process has been addressed. One of the concerns that we had in the past was that while we were trying to put together our budget, the volatility in where the process was in UPD. Volatility is too strong a word. Let me try that one more time. Really what I'm trying to say is that they would start out the process like everyone does, sort of looking at what their expectations were for what their budget would be. We would receive a large number of what they thought the increase was going to be. And then usually by the end of that process, the number was significantly smaller. But because we were running a parallel budgeting process during that time, while we were trying to factor in what that larger number would be, it made it difficult for us to finalize our budget until the very end because there was that volatility there. And so one of the things that we proposed and that the UPD board has adopted is a budgeting mechanism that we're calling the PBIM, or the Proposed Budget Increase Maximum. This was something that actually Midvale recommended and that the board adopted. And the reason for it is that what the goal is that in March, the UPD board would adopt the PBIM, and that would be the maximum amount that throughout the budget process that they would be able to increase their budget to. And if they say they get to the end, something pops up that would require them to say exceed that number, then the UPD board would have to, through a weighted vote, would have to have a supermajority of the board members approve the number that exceeded that PBIM that we set in March. And again, the reason for that then is if we're setting this number now, it would then make it so that we can start working on our budget process and have at least a maximum number of where that's going to end up. Now, the other part of that process too is that it wasn't just for in March for UPD to tell us what they think their budget was going to be, but there was an expectation that the UPD member communities would look at where they think their budget is going in March and would then provide that guidance at the UPD board meeting through their representatives to say, this is what we believe our community can afford in this next budget cycle. And so the purpose of this discussion today is that Mayor Gettle, our representative on the UPD board in March, will be discussing this with the other members, and we want to have an opportunity for the board members to provide some guidance as to where what we would like to recommend the mayor would do in that meeting. So with that, that's kind of a little bit of a history of why we're having this discussion, what the main topic is that we're discussing. But when it comes to the most recent meetings and how that discussion has gone up to this point, Mayor Gettle has been our representative there, and maybe you can say a few words about the meetings you've been in.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Excuse me. So last Thursday, we had the first meeting where this number was floated. And the number that they had prepared us for was 7% across the board. Midvale specifically would be 6%. And in doing those numbers quickly, I know Mariah was in the audience and shot me some numbers real fast. And so at 6%, without Midvale City addressing any other needs that we have across the city, we'd be looking at about a 20 to 25% property tax increase to pay for that proposed 6 to 7% increase. So I know that's going to be difficult for a lot of us figure those numbers out. So we're looking to go back with the board. I think I was the only one at that board meeting who spoke up to say that, like, this is very burdensome for our community here in Midvale. It might not be so much for Holiday or Mill Creek, but in Midvale particularly, that's not a good number for us. So 2 days from now, on the 6th, we have a special UPD board meeting where we are in closed session, I found, talking about a more formal PBIM, not to adopt it. We don't adopt the official PBIM until March 20th. But at the March 6th meeting, 2 days from now, that's where I would like to be prepared with direction from the council to say, this is probably more so of what we're comfortable with. Again, nothing's going to be set on March 6th, but that's kind of the last time for us as a board to discuss before there's the official March 20th meeting where that number will be set. So I've spoken to 3 council members so far about that, and, we kind of have the direction that we need, and the other 2 council members I might grab after the meeting's over. But that's where I am as the, the board member representative. But again, some mistakes we've made in the past, not with this council, but I don't want to be the person saying what I think that you guys want me to say. I want there to be very specific direction so that nothing gets lost in translation. So pretty comfortable with the number that you guys have shared with me so far, but I think Councilmember Brown I need to talk to, and Robinson, so grab you 2 after. Anything else, Matt? I think that's the extent of my knowledge so far. There's 2 days, we have a special meeting, and then March 20th is the official set the number date.
Yeah, the only other thing I'd like to add to that is that it is not, we are very early in the budget process. We'll be having our budget retreat on March 20th, and Mariah and her colleagues will be working on putting together more detailed information as we go through this process. As a reminder, we thought that we were going to have a substantially higher property tax increase last year, and as we got closer to the end, there was an adjustment that was made that dramatically reduced that, and that's just the nature of this process. As of right now, the mayor did indicate the percentage impact of those, the proposed PBIM, but just for some dollars, which again, I'm just saying this is in flux, we're very early. But as of right now, our sales tax is looking flat. As far as new projected revenue at this point, these are rounded numbers, but we're looking at about $800,000 in new revenue in the next budget cycle, of which 200,000 of that are in restricted funds. So just as a quick reminder for you and for everyone, for all the ones of people listening to this at home, if we receive fees, those fees are intended to cover the cost of that service. So if we receive building permit fees, that doesn't just go into the general fund to spend anywhere, that has to be for our building services or related to that. And so that's part of like that $200,000 that we're going to have in new revenue, but it'll be restricted and have to be used in that for that purpose. So at a 6% and change number, we're looking about $860,000-ish in cost for the proposed PBIM. So with that number being about 860, with our revenue really being at about 600,000 that can go to that, that's what contributes to that percentage potential increase. Now, again, as we're talking about it, things are in flux and they can change. The other thing is that PBIM number as well is a maximum number. There's nothing that says that that number can't come in below that somewhere too. So even if in that next board meeting, the UPD board sets it at 5, 6, 7, whatever that is, over the course of time, we can continue to work to try to keep that budget number down so that we don't actually hit that maximum number. Does anyone have any questions about any of this? Great, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. And I would like to say, sitting in the back of the room is our Chief April Morse. And a lot of times people maybe mistakenly think that this is Chief Morse asking for a 6% increase for her and her staff, and that's not exactly how these numbers work. And I know Chief operates on a very lean budget, probably as lean as humanly possible, to still deliver the excellent services that we get out of Unified Police. So just want to make sure that that's clear, that we appreciate, how lean you run your precinct, and we thank you for that, and recognize that, it's not you asking for a new personal vehicle to get from from here to there. So if there's any other, even the council members I've spoken to, if you have any additional guidance for me, I'm happy to take it between now and March 20th. So. Okay, well, it is 7:05, so we can go back to our public hearing. We have a public hearing on the schedule for tonight, and that is to consider resolution number 2025 R09, approving proposed amendments to the fiscal year 2025 budget for the general fund and other funds as necessary. And Mariah Hill.
Yeah, so this has not changed from what you saw a couple weeks ago, but because it's a public hearing, I'll run through this. So just some information about budget amendments. Budget amendments are that require the city council approval are in the general fund if the total budget of a department is changing, and in the enterprise funds and the special revenue funds, that's if the total budget of the fund is changing. An administrative budget amendment moves funds between line items and departments and funds, and that's with the budget officer's approval, who is Matt. Our city council level budget amendments require a public hearing, which we're holding tonight, and a city can pass as many budget amendments as is necessary as long as state code is followed. We generally try to do two, one now and one towards the end of the fiscal year. In the general fund, we're increasing the overall budget by $257,000. All of these are one-time expenditures that are being funded by fund balance, and they include carryovers across departments of about $117,000 from last fiscal year, and then we've added a contracted attorney, the new city engineer, sorry about that shock last time, recruitment funds, and then a part-time seasonal IT intern, and then other miscellaneous items that were under $6,000 or less totaled to $200,000, but you have that detail. In the internal service funds, we are increasing the IT fund by about $42,000 for a carryover for infrastructure from last year, and the fleet fund increasing $74,000, carryover for a vehicle purchase from last year, and then the addition of a new vehicle purchase for a building official and some outside repairs. In the capital projects fund, we're increasing about $2.8 million. All of these are carryovers from projects that were budgeted in fiscal year 2024, and those are listed there. In the enterprise funds, we're only making changes to the water and sewer fund, and that's to carry forward our bond proceeds for our master plan projects, $5.2 million in water and $1.2 million in sewer. Any questions?
Questions for Mariah?
I'll leave this for after the public hearing.
Okay, so this is a public hearing. Is there a motion to enter into public comment?
Mayor, motion we move into public comment.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor of moving to public comment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are in public comment. Is there anyone wishing to comment publicly on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to close public comment.
Mayor, motion we close public comment.
Second?
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are out of public comment, and there is a motion to consider.
Mayor, I move we adopt Resolution 2025 R09, amending the fiscal year 2025 budget for the General Fund, Information Technology Fund, Fleet Fund, Capital Projects Fund, Water Fund, and Sewer Fund as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Rory, will you call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Mikuláš,
Yes.
Billings,
Yes.
Glover,
Aye.
and Robinson.
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously, and we can now move to the final thing on our agenda, and that's Councilmember Glover's territory.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, all those in favor of adjourning?
Yes.
Say yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. We do have an RDA meeting, so once I get the thumbs up. Okay, welcome everyone to our redevelopment agency at Midvale City meeting. It is still March 4th. We do not have a surprise birthday sing for Councilmember Brown. We did that
What?
already.
I'm leaving.
Rory, we called the roll.
Yes. Board Member Glover.
Here.
Billings. Here. Mikuláš.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
And Robinson.
Here.
Okay, we're all still here. Public comments, I see no one from the public in the audience, but I will ask if there's anyone from the public who would like to address the redevelopment agency in Midvale City. Please step forward now. You'll have 3 minutes. Come on, Cody. Okay, no one. We have a public hearing. This might sound familiar. Consider resolution number 2025-01, RDA approving proposed amendments to the fiscal year 2025 redevelopment agency budget. And I know from earlier it says Mariah Hill, but I'm not even going to look that way. It's actually Cody who's doing it today.
Last name is correct, so half correct, not bad.
Wait, are you guys related? I have never put that together.
We call each other cousin, but I don't know.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. So this is actually going to be the same budget as presented 2 weeks ago. Included is just the carryover from the fiscal year that's not being used. It's just getting carried over. And then we do have 2 increases in the budget in the Main Street project area. An increase of $10,000 for public art, just additional murals that we're anticipating for the Mural Festival. And then also about $14,000 for some tree maintenance that needs to happen on Main Street. And so those would be the 2 changes that from what we presented 2 weeks ago. And so everything else is the same as presented. But happy to go over any questions that you have.
Any question for Mariah Hill's cousin? Seeing none, this is also a public hearing, so if there's a motion to enter public comment.
Mayor, I motion that we move into public comment.
Second?
Motion and a second, all those in favor say yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? Public comment, any public comments on the proposed budget amendments? Seeing none, entertain a motion to close public comment.
Mayor, I move that we close public comment.
Second?
Okay, motion and a second, all those in favor of closing public comment say yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay. There is an action item, so in your packets you will see a motion to consider.
Mayor, I move we adopt Resolution 2025-01 RDA amending the fiscal year 2025 budget for the Operations Bingham Junction, Jordan Bluffs, and Main Street Redevelopment Agency funds as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Rory, will you call the roll?
Yes. Board Member Glover.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Brown.
Yes.
Mikuláš.
Yes.
And Billings.
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. One additional item, the consent agenda, consider minutes of February 18th, 2025, sorry. It says 2024.
It does?
Yeah, consider minutes of February 18th, 2025.
Mayor, I motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. This is a roll call vote. Rory, go for it.
Yes. Board Member Mikuláš.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Glover.
Aye.
Billings.
Yes.
And Robinson.
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously as well. Possible closed session is a no-go. We do not have a closed session tonight, so Councilmember Glover.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in
Yes.
favor of adjournment say yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed?